bring about Reuben, Shimon, Levi, which is the avoida of Re'iyah Nalakus, which is Parsha Rishoina, has to do with love of Hashem. Then you have Shimon, which is the idea of Shmiya Belakus, that Parsha Shnia of Krishma, like it says, V'hoim Shemaya Tishmu, that brings about a level of service of Yira, and that is the idea of Shmiya, hearing godliness, where you are meditating on it, but you don't have a vision of it. And then you have the level of the level of Levi, which Yilavi Ishi Elai. The level of Yilavi Ishi Elai is Torah. Well, it says Emes V'Yatziv Hadover Hazeh. Hadover Hazeh is Torah because Torah causes the union and the joining of a Yid with Hashem that follows the Ava V'Yira, the level of Riyah and Shmiya, Reuben and Shimon. And then Yehuda Ata יודוך Achiך is going to explain now. All of this is going to lead to the level of Yehuda, which is the level of Shemona Esrei. That when you have the level of Shemona Esrei, that's the culmination, that's what's the result of the previous three levels. So again, we're holding on the second page in the printouts, Reish Chof Aleph, bottom paragraph, Ois Dalet. So Yehuda Ata יודוך Achiך, this is what it says, that Yehuda, your brothers will, and again, the simple meaning, it means praise you. But over here, it means something deeper, that your brothers bring out the Yoducha, the Yehuda, the Haidah and Bitl of Yehuda. It's thanks to Reuben, Shimon, and Levi. Sha'avoid the B'chiras Achecha, Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, the avoid of your brothers, of Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, which is the base part is the Krishma, Emes V'Yatziv, the two parts of Krishma, and Emes V'Yatziv, Ava V'Yira, and Torah. Yehuda. It's an introduction. It's a preparation for the level of Yehuda. What is the level of Yehuda? Havoida the Shemona Esrei, the avoida of Shemona Esrei, which is Haidaya Ubitl. It's giving praise and thanks and nullification, being totally nullified to Hashem in the ultimate way, higher than anything before it. Ka'avda Kama Morei. That when a person is davening Shemona Esrei, he needs to stand like a servant before his master. He stands at attention, and so on. The bitl of Shemona Esrei is higher, totally beyond. It's a totally higher bitl. It's an ultimate bitl, and that's higher than the bitl of Kriyat Shema. And the Rebbe says there's a practical application, a practical expression of this. Okay, moving on, like it's understood concerning the different halachas of what and how a person may interrupt Shemona Esrei when it comes to the when what and how a person may interrupt Kriyat Shema what the fact that he's not allowed to interrupt Shemona Esrei for practically anything. So why is that so? Because as great and as high as Krishma is, and with all the halachas and so on of Krishma, and the bittul involving Krishma, it's still not on the level of bittul of a servant standing before his master. That's by Shemona Esrei. The Inyan Zeh, Mashaydei, Havoid, the B'chinas Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Magiyim, Achar, the B'chinas Yehuda ben Haravi. This idea that through the avodah of Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, we reach afterwards to Yehuda, the fourth son, while derech hayidua be'inyan hagimul ksarim. It's similar where it's known concerning the three crowns, and then afterwards says the fourth crown is on top of them. So the Rebbe brings down what's the three crowns, like it says in Pirkei Avos. There's Keser Torah, that is the crown of Torah. Keser Kahuna, there's the crown of the being the priesthood, and this Keser Malchus, the crown of kingship. Shem begimel hakavim Torah avodah gmil chasadim. These correspond to the three lines of Torah avodah gmil chasadim. Obviously, Keser Torah is clearly the idea of the line of Torah, the level of the pillar of Torah on which the world stands, not upon which the person stands, like we said earlier. Avodah is always in the simple sense, avoida meant the service in the Beis Hamikdash. Obviously, that's the bailiwick, the purview of the Kohanim. That's Keser Kona. And Gemil's Chasadim, he says, has to do with Malchus. I don't remember seeing clearly the connection between them, but it could be because either because Malchus is less lemegamei klum, and it needs to be sustained. It's an expression of the receiver of the Gemil's Chasadim. The like it says, Gimel Dalid is Gemoil Dalim, and the Gimel is going on the spheres higher Malchus, and Dalid is a level of Malchus. So Malchus is the recipient of Gemil's Chasadim, the spheres of Malchus, or perhaps because Malchus is responsible for sustaining the worlds of Bia, so it's doing Gemil's Chasadim. And in the same way, Ein Melech B'loi Am, there's no king without a nation. The king's whole idea is to lead and to sustain his nation. So therefore, perhaps that's the reason why Keser Malchus has to do with Gemil's Chasadim. But this is not the main thing. The main thing is, what he's trying to explain over here is that after you have the three crowns, you have a Keser Shem Tov, She'oila Gabei, on top of the next page. The crown of a good name that rises above them, Shulamayla Mehem. It's higher than the three things of Keser Torah, Keser Kuna, and Keser Malchus, and higher than the level of Torah, Avodah, and Gemil's Chasadim. But it says Oila al Gabeim. It goes upon them. It rises upon them, meaning not just that it's higher than them, but it's based on them. To be able to reach the level of a crown of a good name, first, it's through the level of the three crowns that Oil Gabeim, that arises on top of them, upon them. So in a similar vein, Yehuda, which is the ultimate level of Bittul, the highest level of Bittul, beyond the level of Bittul of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. But to reach that higher level of Bittul, it has to be Yehuda ata Yoduch Achicha, that your brothers, the Krishma, the Torah learning leads to Shemoneh Esrei, the level of the ultimate Bittul of Shemoneh Esrei. Yehuda becomes Yehuda only through Reuven, Shimon, and Levi beforehand. Now the Rebbe is going to point out something that he also mentioned in passing earlier in the Maimer, that the Haidaya is being misgala in Yehuda through your brothers. But so the Rebbe is going to emphasize now in this Ois, in Ois Hey, on page Reish Chav Beis, third page of the Maimer, it's only that the brothers are the ones that reveal it. But inherently, it's always there. Meaning, we're talking here about the avodah of every single yid. Every single yid in their avodah has this. So he says in Hey, second paragraph on the third page, the reason why Yehuda needs first the levels of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi beforehand. Why do you need Reuven, Shimon, and Levi to precede Yehuda? They're not creating Yehuda. They are just bringing out that Yehuda should be revealed, so that Yehuda should be in a revealed state that can only come through Reuven, Shimon, and Levi being prior to that. Aval behelim of a pnimius, but in a concealed way, in an internal fashion, hare haidaya zui betmidis. This haidaya is something that is always there. Every yid has it innately, inherently. Let's explain in Torah. Yud the Yehuda, the letter Yud of Yehuda. We said Yehuda is in the word Haida uBittel. Haida praising Bittel. So then the name should have been Haida. They should have called him Huda, Haida. Why do they call him Yehuda? The letter Yud, Moira ala Hoive vatmidus. It shows I'm present and constant. It says, so Iyuv would do all of his days. It's not just future tense, but it means present, constantly being done. If you remember, this is a similar expression that the Alter Rebbe says, and the Rebbe brings down always in the Mamorim Hanil Doidi V'Doidi Li, that Yisrael is also, there is the Yid is Sar Keil, and the Yud of Sar Keil of Yisrael is to tell us that the fact that the Keil rules over by a Jew, that's something that's constant. So the same thing over here, the Haidah of a Yid is constant as well. So now the Rebbe is going to go back to Chumash and going to say, hold on for a second. Let's look at what Leah said when she named Yehuda. The Masha calls of Hapam Oides Ashvaye Shaloi Kolitim Shabbos. It says, now, this time, Leah said, I will give thanks to Hashem. What does that indicate? That Yehuda is an expression that not all the times are the same. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. So why do you say that Yud of Yehuda indicates that it's constant and always? So he says, this changes of times, as well as Reuven, Shimon, and Levi needing to contribute, it's only concerning the revelation. Why? What's the problem with the revelation? The revelation is always under attack. Is because the concealment and covering of the body and the animal soul, so they don't let the innate level of Yehuda, of Hidah, which is there always, to come out. And even more so, how much more so does the concealment and covering of the Golus cause that it shouldn't be revealed always and constantly and consistently, the Haidah that's to be found in every single Yid. But it's there. But the godly soul that's in every single Yid, that is the true being of what a Yid is. He was always faithful to Hashem, and therefore he always had this Haidah to Hashem. And that which Leah said, I will give thanks, praise, I will have bittul ta'avayu, who etzle betmidus by Yid is there constantly. Vein shayich bazeh shum shinui chas v'shalom. It's impossible for it to be changed in any way. So going back to what we said before about Reuven, Shimon, and Levi causing Yehuda's Haidah, and therefore we have to explain V'akdomas ha'avodah b'chinas Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. The prefacing and the having first avoid of Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Why is that so? Not to create the Haidah in Yehuda. The Haidah in Yehuda is there always, but rather it's to awaken the Haidah that's in the inner part of the heart that should be in a revealed way. To such a degree, it needs to be awakened that this bittul should manifest itself in actuality. It should go out from the state of potential to the actual, that it should be felt, the bittul, in the person's thought, in the person's speech, in the person's action. It should be manifesting the bittul. That is, we're finished essentially with explaining what is the Yehuda Ata יודוך Achiך. Now he's going to explain what is the result of that bittul. What does that bittul now accomplish? And there's a spiritual accomplishment, which the Rebbe is not going to deal with, just going to refer to Torah. And he's going to talk about the very practical, physical benefits and accomplishments. Oisvav. Because of Yodcha and the post continues, your hand is at the neck of your enemies. Through the revelation of the praise of the bittul, of the level of Yehuda, which previously it could be concealed, but through Reuven, Shimon, and Levi it becomes revealed. So then there's your hand in the neck of your enemies, in the spiritual sense, like the matter is explained in Torah. In short, the Alter Rebbe in Torah says that what's the enemy of a Yid? The physical things. So when the person engages with the physical, it has to be in a way of the neck. In other words, with their charayim. They shouldn't be doing and involved and engaged with the physical, with their passion and excitement in a way that they're investing their pnimius, their energy, their vitality, but rather it's like Bechinas Acharayim. They're just doing it in a chitzoniistic fashion. They're just doing it because I gotta survive, so I need to eat and drink and go to work, etc., etc. So that's the spiritual idea of Yodcha Ba'orev Avecha. That's a result of the bittul of Yehuda being manifest. And then the Rebbe says, V'gam Begashmi, is that the bittul that a Yid has physical repercussions, literally in physical enemies down here. The Ein Mikra Yosef De Pshutai, that the pasuk doesn't leave its simple sense. So in other words, by having bittul to the Eibishter, we bring about that all of our enemies, literally the physical enemies that attack the Yidden, they will be turning their back to us because they're running away from us and running away from our attacks. Well, after that statement that your hand is in the neck of your enemies, it says, Gur Arye Yehuda la Yasser Shevet mi Yehuda, that Yehuda is like a young lion, and the staff, meaning the rulership, the governance, will not leave Yehuda. Shevet is the staff, was symbolic of leadership. That's why all the Shvatim in the Midbar each one had their own staff. It was indication of leadership. Moshe Rabbeinu had the Mata. So leadership will never leave Yehuda. So the Rebbe says that by this next part, it comes to tell us something very interesting. We could possibly explain in this idea that following Yodcha Ba'orev Avecha, it says Gur Arye Yehuda. So we could say that your hand in the neck of your enemy is even prior to the redemption. And he, in footnote 30, he says, similar to it was in Galus Mitzrayim. In Galus Mitzrayim, we know that already before the exile, before the Yidden left the exile, it was already v'nasati eschein ha'amaz ben Mitzrayim, I placed the favor of the nation in the eyes of the Egyptians. And since we know that our present redemption is similar to Mitzrayim, so just like by Mitzrayim, our enemies became friendly to us, the same thing before our redemption now, there will also be the Yodcha Ba'orev Avecha, that our enemies will stop being our enemies. How does the pasuk Gur Arye Yehuda indicate that the Yodcha Ba'orev Avecha is talking about before the Geula even? So he says, the Hine Gur Arye Goymer Lo Yasser Shevet mi Yehuda. That phrase, that part of the pasuk says, Koyal David v'Shloim. It says it's referring to David HaMelech and Shloim HaMelech Shemel Mzarim Yeh Melech HaMashiach. From their offspring will come out the King Mashiach. It's not just that Mashiach comes from David, it also has to come from Shloim HaMelech's line. All of them are concerning David. It says, "V'kam shevet mi Yisrael," that a shoot, a staff, will come out from Yisrael. That's the Lo Yasser Shevet mi Yehuda, is connected with David HaMelech and Shloim. She'oz, when Mashiach comes, Yiyev Abdi David Melech Aleim, that my servant David will be a king over them. But David Abdi Nasilam Loilam, and David my servant will be a leader for them forever. The Shabbos Haver, like it says in last week's Haftorah, Sheminei Mizbarch and Kuli Yomin. This mimer, like we said, was said in middle of the week of Parshas Vayechi, which means it was still under the influence of the brachas that Shabbos gives for the entire next week. So therefore, the Haftorah of next week has a bearing on the mimer and the topics that we're discussing now. Even prior to this, at the conclusion of the time of Golus, that your hand will be in the neck of your enemies. Shekol Oive Yisrael, all the enemies of Yidden. It says Oivecha, meaning Yehuda's enemies. Shekol Yisrael, Nekrai Mal Shem Yehuda. All Yidden are called by the name Yehuda, as we know from the Megillas Esther that we're all called Yehudim. And this is also similar to what it says that first, the Rebbe brings in the footnote also that first it will be Mashiach will be Yilchem Mechemes Hashem V'Yinatzach. First, he will fight the wars of Hashem and he'll be victorious. And then after that, he builds the Beis Hamikdash, and after that only will he gather the scattered Eden. So we see at the beginning of the Geula, and then the Rebbe adds even at the conclusion of the time of Golus, it will be already Tipol Aleim Emosa V'Fachat. That top of the last page of the Maimer, that it will fall upon the nations of the world, the fear and the trembling of before the Eden. And again, the Rebbe says, what causes that? What brings that about? Yehuda ati יודוך אחיך, through the beginning of the pasuk, when there's the revelation of the Idah that's amongst the Yidden in general, when there's the revelation of the essential bittul that every Yid has innately, so that will cause the Yehuda coming. The Yad Chabar Fevecha. Until it comes out that the Haidah, like we said, is not just a theoretical Haidah coming out with Poil. It's not just, okay, I feel a bittul to the Eibishter. No, like we said before, that the bittul actually manifests in thought, speech, and deed. He thinks based on his bittul. He talks based on his bittul. He does his actions of Torah mitzvahs based on his bittul. Then that will bring the brachas of the enemies being destroyed. Like it says, when you go on my chukim and you observe my mitzvahs, that will cause, like it says further in the psukim and parshas b'chukaisai, that your enemies will fall before you. So we see a direct correlation between bittul, and especially the bittul manifesting itself in Torah mitzvahs, in our thought, speech, and deed. It impacts how the enemies will act. And this is even, like we said, before Mashiach comes. Final ois zay. The Shlomo could say, the Zel Gama Kesher, the Yehuda, יודוך אחיך, Yad Chabar Fevecha, Achiach Ber Mitzrayim. This is also the connection between what it says, Yehuda, your brothers will praise you, meaning that we will bring out the praise in the Yehuda through the brothers, and then your enemies will be fleeing before you. It's connected to Parshas Vayechi. Shagam Kish Yisrael Nimtzoim Begolus, even when Yidden found themselves in Golus. Like it says, Eretz Mitzrayim. Yaakov was in Eretz Mitzrayim. Shekol Agolias Malchias Nikroyas Hashem Mitzrayim. All the exiles, all the kingdoms are called by the name Mitzrayim. So when it says Vaychi Yaakov Eretz Mitzrayim, it's talking about in general Yidden living in Golus. Still in all him Bechinas Vaychi, they're still in the way that they're alive. They're really living a life. How is that so? Because they're connected with life. Through the study of Torah, which is the Torah of life, and through fulfilling the mitzvahs that it says about them that you shall live with them. So therefore, the Torah mitzvahs that he does and gives him the life even in time of Golus. Like the Alter Rebbe explained to his the grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, how could Yaakov live his best years in Mitzrayim? So the Alter Rebbe explains, through sending Yehuda before him to teach in Goshen, Lahaskin Le Beis Talmud, to prepare for him a yeshiva. There was Vayechi also in Mitzrayim. So we see Yehuda has to be the one. Why was it Yehuda? It could have been someone else. He could have sent any of his sons. He could have sent his grandsons. Why is it Yehuda Dafke? It's connected to what we're talking about now. The bittul of Yehuda ensures that even in Mitzrayim there could be chayis. Through that comes about that the enemies become defeated. Okay, my Chazal say when the voice of Yaakov is in the shulchan and in the yeshivas, so then the hands of Esav cannot rule over them. So in the same way, when it's Yehuda, Ati יודוך Achicha, and then he brings about that Yehuda goes ahead and establishes a yeshiva in Mitzrayim, so they're sitting and learning and davening. So when you sit and learn and daven, so then, like we said, Yad Chabar Fevecha, your enemies flee before you. Not only do you defeat the enemies, but that the nations of the world themselves assist the Yidden in all their physical matters. They should be able to study Torah and fulfill mitzvahs out of comfort, in the way that he increases and adds in light. This light pushes away the darkness of the goal. So maybe Mashiach brings about the redemption through Mashiach. Will come and redeem us and lead us upright to our land. Speedily in our days, mamish.